Well, greetings. It's Ken Cunin from Fasting Rip 50. Hope you're keeping well. Today I want to talk about fasting, and today will be the first video of fasting, and there will be many videos about fasting in the weeks and months to come. I'm going to tell you about my personal experience. I'm going to tell you about what I've noted also with other clients that I've integrated fasting into their programs. Let's start out with how it is that I actually started to fast. Why did I start to fast? Well, in my family tree, there's a lot of good attributes and there's some not so good attributes. And the not so good attributes is there's a history of multiple people having cancer, of having Alzheimer's. We got a little bit of diabetes as well. And these are roads that I didn't really want to walk down. So I started to research. I started to ask myself and started to think, what can I do to make myself more resistant to those sort of diseases? And I came across this Japanese scientist in 2016 who won the Nobel Science Prize for a paper on autophagy. What is autophagy? Autophagy is essentially, it's a cellular cleanout where stronger cells tend to gobble up weaker cells. It's a very primitive example, but think of it as a cellular repair. Except for one thing, it only happens in the absence of food. You have to be in a fasted state to reach those levels. I thought, oh, that's brilliant. That's wonderful. And the more I started to research about it, the more I started to see that it actually had potential to fight off a lot of autoimmune disease, a lot of cancer, a lot of things like dementia, Alzheimer's. Inflammation was a common thing that was being defeated or perhaps being held in check better when autophagy was present. So I thought, okay, that's pretty cool. And I started to research a little bit further, and I started to find out that intermittent fasting, particularly a 16-8 diet, was becoming very popular. 16-8, what's that? Well, you got 16 hours where you're not eating, 8 hours that you're eating. And that's really what intermittent fasting is. Forget about how many hours it is. You have moments where you're taking in calories. You have moments in time where you're not. So for a 16-8 program, for example, I could finish dinner at 9 o'clock, not eat anything until say 1 o'clock, or finish dinner at 12 and then finish dinner at 8 o'clock p.m., start at lunch. So for me, it was great on so many levels. One, I had spent so much time in studying nutrition and was fed the bullshit that you needed to eat, 5-6 times a day, 3 main meals. You had to have breakfast. You had to have these snacks to keep your energy levels up. What a load of crap. Okay, all that happened was our population in America, Australia, the world over, we just got fat. And we had carbohydrates, which are sugar and glucose, at the top of the food list. And what happens? You go up, you go down. You go up, you don't go down. And the bellies, the world over, have gone out. So your energy levels go up and down. Your diabetes goes up. Your blood sugar, your insulin levels go up. And the end result has been we live in a very unhealthy land. I can look outside and count 10 people that walk by my shop right now, and there is a reasonable chance that 6, 7, 8 will be overweight, and a fair few of them will be obese. This is not good, people, and it's something that we put on ourselves. So when I started eating less frequently, here's what happened. 1, my brain went, cool, I don't have to think about food for a while. Wow, what a vacation from thinking about food. 2, my energy levels got better. 3, because I was trying to keep the same caloric intake. What it meant was I was able to have bigger meals, which led to what? Me being satiated, being full. If we had a whole bunch of rice crackers in front of us, we could gobble them down, and then 20 minutes later, we're full again. You have a chicken breast, and you have some healthy fat, you're full. You're full for longer. And by having as well these periods where we're not eating, what happens? Less energy is actually directed to your gut, more energy for your brain. Now I'll take every bit of brain energy that is available. I want to be creative. I want to be productive. And when my guts are in turmoil, and my guts were in turmoil, this is a little secret I'm revealing. For about 35 years, I've not had good health, gut health. when I started to incorporate intermittent fasting, and also I'll give the ketogenic diet credit where it's due. I started to use that for about a 16-week period of time. My guts have never been better. My joints felt the best that they have felt in years. And I do a lot of heavy training, hard training. I move plates for a living. What else? Concentration levels, terrific. Headaches decreased. I found that my already good blood pressure got better. I found that my blood glucose, which was a little bit borderline type 2 diabetes, not quite, but could have gone in that direction, starting to see the best levels that I've ever seen as an adult. And let's think about it. Let's think about why the pharmaceutical world's not really big on getting this information, where it's easier just to take a pill for something. Because there's no bloody drugs to be sold here. Here's an idea: eat less frequently. Now I want to tell you what creates a fasted state and what doesn't. When you're in a fasted state, that means that you essentially can drink water, no calories there, and you can drink, say, tea or coffee, but they got to be black. Because what happens is when you actually take in any calories, that state of autophagy that we're chasing ends right there and then. You're either fasted or you're not. I actually found that I can drink black coffee now. Never thought I'd be able to do it. I dig it now. It's something that starts my day. So I found that 16 hours was pretty darn easy. And to be honest with you, because I like to use my body as a laboratory, I found that sometimes I would go to what we call OMAD, 1 meal a day, did 24 hours. And I'll do that often once, twice a week. And it became easy. And when I did use the ketogenic diet, as I mentioned before, for about 16 weeks, it became even easier. And here's why. Because I had a constant energy source. What was the energy source? My body shifted from using glucose and started to actually run off of blood ketones, body fat. Wow. And I'll never forget this one experience. I was probably a month, 2 months into my experiment, and I was taking a day fast, and I made sure that I was hydrated, that I kept my electrolytes up. Himalayan rock salt is a real saver. No, my energy levels didn't plummet. When they plummet when people are fasting, it's usually because their electrolytes are out of whack. Anyways, I was in this room, all the lights were on. They're off right now because I don't film very well. And all of a sudden, I obviously took that leap into the world of ketosis, because everything seemed about 20% brighter. I had this unbelievable clarity of thought. I had great energy. My body felt good. I felt very mobile. My waist had felt, in fact, I got down to a point where I was about a 29-inch waist. That's the first time, I think, since I've been probably about 15 years old that I had a 29-inch waist. It's pretty cool that I can go into a men's shop now and get jeans that are 30, and they fit nicely. A little snug around the glutes and the quads, but around the waist, fitting into a 30, no problem. And I saw it with my clients, and I saw it with quite a few female clients, that they became less obsessive, not having to count every calorie and just say, hey, let's eat a couple times a day, have a period, keep yourself hydrated, keep your electrolytes up. And all of a sudden, they started to see weight loss, and they started to see fat loss in some really stubborn areas. Remember this, when we're talking about weight loss and we're talking about stubborn areas. The area that you want fat to disappear from, often the most, it's probably going to happen last. Think about it like a bathtub. Think about that, the waist or your backside. That's where that fat added first. To get down to low body fat levels, think of that at the bottom of the bathtub. You're going to have to drain all the other stuff before you get to that. That's just the way it goes. Sorry, but it is preferential on how it comes and how it comes off. So, other things, okay, that I think are worth noting. When you're fasting, so much energy that we use all the time is at a digestive level. And when that is freed up, when you can have that period of time where you're not so busy breaking food down, and if you're eating 6 times a day, you're always in that process, lots of other repair happens. That's when also growth hormone starts to surge. I can't tell you how important that is. I like to look at bodybuilders because they live in the extreme. And bodybuilders of today, they're very big and they're very shredded. Why? One of the things that they do is they take lots of growth hormone. How cool is it to know that when you fast for a period of time, not only is repair happening, but growth hormone comes up. And when growth hormone comes up, you repair better, you get leaner. There are so many different advantages, so many distinct advantages to having slightly elevated growth hormone. And you don't pay a penny for it. It's free. And because of that, I've found that niggling injuries that I've had, they've started to disappear. Why? It's because my growth hormone levels have gone up. Because they're probably at a level that they hadn't seen in the last 20 years. That is super cool. But again, there's no money to be made out of that. It's no drugs. You don't have to inject it. You got to go some periods of time without eating. At the end of the day, look, I want to feel good. I want to be lean. I want to have good energy. And I found that intermittent fasting has provided me with all the opportunities to achieve those things. A little disclaimer in terms of training. When I did incorporate the ketogenic diet, there was one drawback. Really only one drawback for me. Two maybe. Sometimes you go to a restaurant, it can be a little bit more challenging to find what you want. The second one was as far as pure training and trying to add muscle mass, it's harder when you're in a ketogenic state. When you don't have glucose available, it's harder to lift heavy. But that's why it's good to have periods where you're in a fasted state and an anabolic state. There's a great book, folks, called Metabolic Autophagy. It's by a young Estonian author, and he talks all about this. He talks about essentially that when we're in a fasted state, look at it as a great period where you can burn off body fat, where you got great energy sources, and then you put your food, and if you're going to use carbohydrates, around your training. That's called tactical ketogenic eating. Right now, I'm not in a ketogenic state, but I know that it's easy to add on, and it's a tool in my kit that I can use. That will come and go. Intermittent fasting, that's something that stays. And I think that if you look at history, you'll find a couple things. One, when we were hunters and gatherers, we weren't fed 24/7. You couldn't just go down the street. And yet we didn't disappear as human beings. No, you're not going to get weak. No, you're not going to lose muscle mass. Your body is very resilient. And the other thing is lots of traditions found that there's something spiritual about fasting, about turning off that impulse. And I know that I know enough about science that dopamine is a very powerful response, and they're very important and very powerful receptors. I think about it this way. This is my last thought for today, is that if you can control hunger, which is such a primal instinct that we experience, and you get control of that, you might find that a lot of other urges and a lot of other borderline addictions that you have, they're a lot easier to overcome as well. And I love that. I love that about fasting, because it builds an inner strength that is going to help you be in control and in a positive way. So these are my initial thoughts on intermittent fasting. We're going to talk a lot more about it down the track. What I need you to do right now, please, is that if you haven't already, subscribe to our channel. Make sure you hit that bell for the notifications so you find out when other videos are coming out. Ask plenty of questions. That gives me future topics for videos. All right, keep training. All right, and look at intermittent fasting. If you got any questions, let us know. Take care. Adios.